F1, no power brake, no power steering. You know, there you go.
For years, car lovers have followed Jay Leno's obsession with rare and forgotten machines. They've watched him talk about engines, restore the impossible, and chase down history most people had given up on. But one part of Jay Leno's world was never meant for the public to see: his private garage. For decades, it stayed closed off, tucked away near Burbank Airport, far from cameras and far from fans. Now, after years of secrecy, the doors have finally opened, and what's inside is already raising new questions. Why did he build something this massive? What was he really trying to protect? Join us as we uncover the mystery inside Jay Leno's garage. The garage, how it came to existence. Before Jay Leno became one of the biggest names in late-night television, his story started with old motorcycles. Growing up in Massachusetts, he spent his teenage years fixing up British bikes. At that time, he wasn't rich or famous. He was just a kid who liked taking engines apart. That habit never left him. Like everyone made for greatness, Jay always chased what he loved. As he broke into comedy, he kept buying old cars. His aim was not to show off or invest in them, rather he bought them because he loved them. By 1992, Jay Leno became the host of The Tonight Show. By then, his car collection had already started growing, and it never stopped. From one car at a time to one motorcycle at a time, he never stopped. In fact, he did it year after year, until he built a garage that the world never believed could exist in the first place. Near Burbank Airport, he created a space called the Big Dog Garage. The Big Dog Garage is not a showroom. It's not a museum. It's 122,000 square feet of working space, built for one reason: to keep every vehicle inside it alive. That's what makes Leno different from most collectors. Most collectors protect value by keeping mileage low. These cars even have a nickname, like trailer queens. The truth is that their main aim are usually for the cameras, and some just keep their own frozen in time to protect resale value. Leno never wanted that. He wanted to drive. So Jay Leno built a machine shop inside his own garage. Lathes, grinders, tools built to make parts by hand. A team of mechanics who could recreate a part from scratch, even if the company that built the car no longer existed. That's hard enough for one rare car. Leno needed it for over 180 of them. That's what the collection had become. More than 180 cars, over 160 motorcycles, worth, by some estimates, well over $100 million. And every single one still runs. That choice came at a cost. You can't fix a 100-year-old engine with a phone call. The company that built it is gone. So are the parts suppliers. When something breaks, there's often no one left to call. So Leno's team builds the part themselves, by hand, from scratch, sometimes using tools made for that one job alone. That's how a Stanley steamer, built before gas engines proved themselves, ended up parked next to a modern supercar. That's how machines built by small teams, chasing ideas that never reached mass production, ended up running again after decades of silence. Leno did not just want to own these machines, he wanted to understand them. So he worked beside his mechanics. He learned what was happening under every hood. Each car became something worth explaining, not just owning. That's the real reason the Big Dog Garage exists. Not to impress people, to keep rare machines and the ideas behind them alive. Most of the collection fits that mission perfectly. Rare, brilliant engineering, kept alive by people who care whether it runs. But a few vehicles inside that garage go even further than that. So stay with us, because their stories are stranger than anything else Jay Leno owns. The shocking cars in Leno's garage. In the 1990s, Jay Leno heard about a car most people had never seen in person. It was called the McLaren F1. Only a small number were ever built. But the unique thing about it is that it was fast. And of course it was rare considering the amount available. And even back then, It was expensive. Leno wanted one. But the price made him hesitate. He remembered lying awake the night before he bought it, wondering if spending that much money on a car made any sense at all. He tried to play it cool. He waited. He told himself he'd think about it. 2 weeks later, he gave in. He paid roughly $800,000 for the car. At the time, that felt like a fortune. Looking back now, it looks like the deal of a lifetime. And the reason why? That's what you're about to find out. Only 106 McLaren F1s were ever built. Each one was hand-assembled. They also used a carbon fiber body. Years before carbon fiber became common in road cars, the driver sat in the center of the cabin, with 2 passenger seats slightly behind, on either side. Nothing else on the road looked or drove quite like it. Decades later, that same car is worth millions. Some estimates put it as high as $20 million or more. People have offered to buy it from him. Every single time, Leno has said no. So, why? He explained it simply. He never bought the car as an investment. He bought it because it was a brilliant piece of engineering. To him, buying something you love, then locking it away and hoping someone else pays more for it later, misses the entire point of owning it. So instead of hiding the McLaren away, Leno drives it. But here is the shocking thing. Those who have special cars like this usually use them on special occasions. But Leno does not just use such a beauty on special occasions. He's taken it to the supermarket, he has taken it to the dry cleaners, and what most people don't know is that he also uses it on mountain roads on quiet weekends, just to feel what the engineers built. He once said plainly that this might be the greatest car of the 20th century, and he treats it that way, not as a trophy sitting under a spotlight, but as a machine built to be driven, exactly the way it was designed to be. But here's the part that says even more about how Leno thinks. A neighbor of his once bought the exact same car. That neighbor sold his McLaren F1 not long after buying it, for what felt like a smart, quick profit at the time. Years later, that same car was worth 20 times what he sold it for. Leno still owns his. That single decision, the choice to hold on instead of cashing out, tells you almost everything about the kind of collector Jay Leno is. He is not chasing price tags, he is chasing the story behind the machine. But the McLaren wasn't found. It was bought, carefully and deliberately, from someone who knew exactly what they were selling. The next car in Leno's collection has a completely different story. So, don't go anywhere, because this one opens the doors to a whole new side of his garage. Back in 2005, Leno heard about an old car sitting forgotten in a garage in Burbank, just a few miles from where he worked. Decades earlier, in the 1940s, a man had bought it out of Chicago for a few $100s. He meant to restore it. He never did. The car just sat there, ignored, gathering dust, year after year, for almost 60 years. Nobody who walked past that garage knew what was sitting inside it. The car was a Duesenberg Model X. To most people, that name means nothing, but to serious collectors, it means something rare. Enough to stop conversations. Duesenberg only ever built 13 of these chassis before shifting production toward a different, more famous model. Several of those 13 were never even finished with a body. Today, experts believe only around 5 complete examples still exist anywhere in the world. Leno's discovery became the 5th known survivor. He didn't find it at a glamorous auction house bidding against other wealthy collectors. He found it sitting quietly in a stranger's garage. Forgotten for nearly 6 decades, worth a fortune that nobody nearby had any idea was sitting right next to them. Think about that for a second. A car worth an enormous amount of money today, once bought for pocket change, hidden in plain sight the entire time. That's the part that should genuinely shock you. Because it means somewhere out there, right now, there could be another one. Another forgotten machine sitting in another garage, another barn, another driveway, worth more than the person who owns it could possibly imagine. That's exactly the pattern that shows up again and again throughout Leno's collection. He isn't just buying finished, polished machines off a showroom floor. He's rescuing pieces of history that almost disappeared completely, sometimes by pure luck, sometimes because someone remembered his name and picked up the phone. 2 cars, 2 completely different stories. One bought at full price and never sold no matter the offer. One bought for almost nothing and nearly lost to time completely. But that's not all, because you're about to see a car in Leno's garage that will leave you on the edge of your seat. A deeper look into his garage. Buying rare cars, no matter how expensive or how history-heavy, was never going to be enough for Jay Leno. At some point, owning history stopped being the real challenge for him. Building it did. In 2006, Leno decided he wanted a car that did not exist yet. From his plan, it was clear that he was not planning a restoration. He wanted to build something built entirely from scratch. So he called General Motors. Together, Leno and GM's design team created something called the EcoJet. Under the hood wasn't an engine at all, at least not in the traditional sense. It was a turbine, the same kind used in helicopters, producing roughly 650 horsepower. Instead of gasoline, it ran mainly on biodiesel, made from soybean oil. There was a catch, though. Biodiesel alone could gum up the fuel system over time. So the engineers gave EcoJet 2 separate fuel tanks, one for biodiesel to power the drive, one for jet fuel, used only to start the engine and clean it out at the end of a trip. The whole car came together in about 7 months, built on a modified Corvette Z06 chassis. It had no rear-view mirrors, just cameras. It even smelled unusual from the exhaust, more like a kitchen than a racetrack, because of the biodiesel burning through the turbine. Leno wasn't trying to build the fastest car in the world. He was trying to prove something. That performance and sustainability didn't have to be opposites. That a car could be radical without looking like something out of a science class poster. But building something new was only half the challenge Leno set for himself. The other half was reviving something the rest of the world had already given up on entirely. And that's where the story gets really interesting. You see, back in the 1960s, Chrysler tried something almost nobody else in the auto industry dared to attempt. They built a car powered by a jet turbine engine, meant for regular roads, regular drivers, regular life. It was called the Chrysler Turbine Car. 55 were built in total. The engine could run on nearly anything flammable: gasoline, diesel, kerosene, even, according to Chrysler's own claims, tequila. For a few years, Chrysler loaned these cars out to ordinary families across the country, just to see what would happen. The experiment didn't go the way the company hoped. The cars were fascinating, but turbines were loud, complicated, and expensive to keep running. So when the program ended, Chrysler did something drastic. They destroyed almost every single one. Only 9 Chrysler turbine cars survived the crusher. 2 stayed with Chrysler. 6 ended up in museums. 1 went to Jay Leno. For years, Leno drove his. Then the engine failed completely, and there was no factory left standing that still made replacement parts. So Leno called Williams International, the company founded by the very engineer who helped build the original turbine engine decades earlier. The engineer himself had already passed away by then, but his son stepped in and pulled together a team, some of them now in their 80s and 90s, men who had worked on this exact engine 60 years earlier. Together, they rebuilt it from nothing. 22,000 tiny octagon-shaped holes, drilled by hand, one at a time, exactly like the original. New tools, built specifically for this one job. The car runs today, one of only a handful of the 9 survivors that can still be driven. One thing stands out, and that is Leno has a habit of saving brilliant engineering from being forgotten. And that instinct shows up again in one of the strangest-looking cars hiding in his garage. Which car was that? Keep watching to find out. In 1937, the Cord 812 did something no American production car had ever done before. Its headlights disappeared completely into the body of the car. It was so unique that a driver could reach a small hand crank on the dashboard and physically raise or lower them, hiding the headlights entirely when they weren't needed. At the time, this looked like something from another planet. People reportedly climbed onto other cars at auto shows just to get a better look at it. The Cord wasn't just about headlights either. It hid its gas cap behind a small door in the body. It used a horn ring instead of a simple button. Its entire nose curved dramatically forward, so much so that the front wheels actually sat ahead of the hood itself, giving the car the illusion of leaning forward even while sitting perfectly still. Leno has called it one of the most revolutionary and most beautiful cars ever built. Not because of horsepower, because of ideas that wouldn't become standard on ordinary cars for decades afterward. And that same appreciation for strange, ahead-of-its-time engineering carries straight into Leno's motorcycle collection, where one bike stands apart from every single other machine he owns. It's called the Megala Sport Racer. Built in Germany back in 1922, only around 2,000 were ever made. Most motorcycles put the engine somewhere between the wheels. The Megala didn't. Its 5-cylinder engine sat directly inside the front wheel itself. The crankshaft was bolted solidly to the front fork, which meant that when the wheel spun, the entire engine spun along with it. There's no transmission, no belt connecting engine to wheel. To start it, you don't use a kickstart or a button. You simply spin the front wheel by hand, and the whole engine roars to life, spinning right along with it. And that's not all. Leno's motorcycle collection includes something even more personal. An entire room dedicated to a single British brand called Bro Superior. In its day, the Bro Superior was known as the Rolls-Royce of motorcycles, founded in 1919 by George Bro. The brand is widely credited with building the world's first true superbikes. T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, owned 8 of them during his lifetime. Leno bought his first Bro Superior in the 1980s, a 1939 model, for around $5,000, but most of the collection that fills that dedicated room today didn't come from a dealer or an auction house. It came from a close friend. Robert White spent decades as one of the most devoted Bro Superior collectors in the world. When he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, he made a decision. He sold his entire collection to Leno and donated every dollar from the sale to build a cancer wing at the English hospital that had treated him. Leno still keeps that room exactly as a tribute to White. Every bike inside it carries his memory along with it. That's the part of Leno's collection people rarely talk about. It isn't only about rare engineering or forgotten history. Sometimes it's about honoring the people who loved these machines just as much as he does. But chasing machines like these, whether built from nothing, rebuilt from ashes, or inherited from a dying friend's final wish, hasn't come without a price. Keep watching, because you're about to see exactly what that price was. The price of never slowing down. It was Khalil Gibran, in The Prophet, who once wrote, "Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls, the most massive characters are seared with scars." That line might sound like a poetic idea, the kind of thing people quote without really testing it against real life. But in the life of Jay Leno, it isn't just a statement, it's a reality. To understand why, look at November 2022. Leno was doing what he always does, working on a car with his own hands, alongside a close friend. This time, the car was a 1907 white steam car, sitting in his garage, when the fuel line clogged. Steam cars run differently than ordinary vehicles. They use gasoline, but also a vaporizer heated by a pilot light to turn water into steam. Leno and his friend decided to blow air through the line to try clearing the blockage. Instead, gasoline sprayed back across his face, right next to that open pilot light. His face caught fire instantly. Leno suffered third-degree burns across his face, neck, chest, and hands. He spent over a week at the Grossman Burn Center in Los Angeles, undergoing multiple skin graft surgeries, one using donor skin, another using pig, intestine tissue. When doctors offered him pain medication afterward, he refused it. He said the pain was a reminder that he'd been an idiot, and that reminder was worth keeping. He healed. He went back to work within days, and just 2 months later, it happened again. In January 2023, Leno took a vintage 1940 Indian motorcycle out for a road test, sidecar attached. He smelled gas leaking and turned to head back toward the garage, cutting through a parking lot to get there faster. He never saw the wire. Someone had strung it across the lot, low and completely unmarked. It caught him across the neck and threw him straight off the bike. He broke his collarbone, 2 ribs, both kneecaps. He needed shoulder surgery afterward, and his stand-up schedule was briefly put on hold while he recovered. 2 serious accidents in 2 months would be enough to stop most people from ever going near a garage again. Leno kept going, but his determination could not prepare him for what struck next. In November 2024, it happened a 3rd time, and this one had nothing to do with cars or motorcycles at all. Leno was staying at a hotel built on a hillside, walking toward dinner. Rather than take the long way around, he chose a shortcut down the slope. He lost his footing. He rolled 60 feet down the hill, hitting rocks the entire way down. He broke his wrist. His face and body were left covered in bruises. He tore off a fingernail completely. He needed an eye patch just to cover the damage to his face and eye. So, you see 3 serious accidents, 3 completely different causes, and it all happened within roughly 2 years. Leno never once blamed the machines, and he never complained about the pain. He would always say that they were just accidents, and normal people do have accidents from time to time. To add to that, he has said before that if he started whining about it publicly, he'd just come across as a whiny, complaining celebrity. Better, he says, to make jokes and move on. That refusal to slow down isn't limited to his own body. It shows up in how he spends his time helping others too. Since 1985, Leno has served as Grand Marshal of the Love Ride, an annual motorcycle charity event founded the year before, in 1984. Thousands of riders gather every year across Southern California, raising money for causes ranging from muscular dystrophy research to wounded veterans. Over the decades, the event has raised well over $20 million for charity. Leno has ridden alongside those strangers for nearly 40 years running, through every kind of risk that comes with putting that many riders on the road together at once. That's the real scar Jay Leno carries. Not just the burns, or the broken bones, or the bruises down one entire side of his body. It's proof, exactly as Gibran wrote nearly a century ago, that suffering never made Jay Leno smaller. It only proved how massive his character already was. What are your thoughts on Jay Leno's garage and the price he's paid to keep it running? Do you think it's worth the risk, or has he pushed his luck one too many times? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.